What's up guys, it's Eric from Rare Candy and welcome back to another entry into our Rogue Rumble series where we take a look at some overlooked or underutilized cards and we try to make some rogue deck ideas out of them. And for today we are looking at Heatmor Raichu. So this is actually a deck that took the recent European International Championship by storm. You know, no one was really expecting this deck, but at the end of day one it came in at the 6th seed, I believe it was. So like I said, definitely a deck that caught a lot of people off guard, myself included. But I knew this is something I wanted to try out and build on the channel. That way I could show it off for you guys. So let's take a look at it. We have Heatmor, who is our quote-unquote main attacker. But we're really not trying to do damage or take knockouts. We are using Heatmor for its Odor Sleuth attack. For a DCE, you flip 2 coins, and for each heads, put a card from your discard pile back into your hand. So this deck is going to kind of function similar to Sableye Garb from the expanded format, like how that deck uses Sableye just to recover resources to disrupt its opponent. Heatmor functions kind of similarly. It is a coin flip based attack, so we are also playing 2 copies of Flip Teeny for that Victory Star ability. Once during your turn, after you flip any coins for an attack, you may ignore all results of those coin flips and begin flipping those coins again, and you can't use more than 1 Victory Star ability each turn. So in the case that we hit the dreaded double tails off Odor Sleuth, we can always just reflip those coins and try to get some better results. That's why we are playing Victini. And the other, I guess, main component of the deck is going to be a 4/4 Raichu line. So this is going to be the Raichu from Burning Shadows, and we are playing it for its Evo Shock ability. So whenever you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed. So that's going to be the other key component of the deck. Like I said, basically every turn we want to paralyze our opponent and then use Odor Sleuth to recover different resources that we need to continue our lock. So that's the general gist of it. No attacking, we're not using Volt Tackle or anything like that. And for the Pikachus we are using 3 of the promo one. It's the one with 70 hit points, and then we are also playing 1 of the Nuzzle Pikachu. So we're playing this one just as an additional option because for a DCE we can use Nuzzle to potentially paralyze our opponent. So generally speaking, the 70 HP one is better, but sometimes Nuzzle will come in handy, I suppose. Also playing 1 copy of Durant. So Durant for a single grass energy can use Mountain Munch to do 10 damage and discard the top card of your opponent's deck. And it also has Scrape Down. If this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, discard the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. So we do run Rainbow Energy in this list, so that means we will be able to make use of these attacks potentially. Scrape Down is a little bit harder to power up just because it requires 2 energy, and we only run 6 total in the whole deck. But sometimes even just Mountain Munch can potentially come in handy. Also playing 1 copy of Xurkitree GX. This is one of the new Ultra Beasts that came out, and we're playing it for a couple of reasons. First of all, its Flashing Head ability. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have any special energy attached to them, so this can sometimes be a good little wall. And then also it has the attack Lightning GX. Your opponent reveals their hand and add a card you find there to their prize cards face down. So this is just going to make our opponent work a little bit harder to close out a game against us. Also, if they have maybe a card in hand to break the lock like Guzma or something like that, we can always use Lightning GX to add that to their prize cards. So Xurkitree, kind of just like a little tech card. And then we also play 1 copy of the Stardust Jirachi. So we're using it for Stardust. Discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. If you do, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So this is just another little disruptive card that we have access to. Between Stardust and Raichu, Jirachi is probably going to be a safe target on the next turn, and our opponent will not be able to attack us. And then to round out the Pokemon line, just 1 copy of Tapu Lele GX for the Wonder Tag ability. We will have access to Energy Drive if we choose to, but it's mainly going to be for Wonder Tag to maybe get that first turn Bridget or something to that effect. And the reason I think this deck is only playing the 1 copy of Lele is because bench space is very, very precious. You ideally want maybe a Victini, maybe 1 or 2 Heatmor, 2 to 3 Pikachus, so you really just don't have a lot of space for multiple Leles on your field like most decks do. So going on to the training cards, we'll start with the supporters. We have, of course, one copy of Bridget. That's going to be our, obviously, our early game supporter that we want to use to set up our bench. We have 4 copies of N. Since we don't plan on taking prize cards, we are always going to be getting 6 off N, so a very, very powerful supporter in this type of deck. But we're still playing 2 copies of Sycamore just for a little bit of extra draw power. 2 copies of Skyway to search out a trainer card from our deck. So there are a lot of times where we just need a single trainer card to keep our lot going. So something like a Devolution Spray, or we also play Puzzles of Time in this list. So if we have one puzzle already in hand, Skyway can come in handy to grab the other one. So Skyway is just a very, very useful card in this type of deck. 1 copy of Ninja Boy. So like I said, bench space is a little bit of a luxury in this deck. So if you do have to bench Lele, or maybe some less than optimal Pokemon, let's say you started with something you won't need in the matchup like Jirachi, just as an example, you have to bench Lele. Well, that's 2 bench spots that are already taken up, so Ninja Boy can come in handy in those situations to help make sure that you always have what you need on the field. 1 copy of Lucamine, so get 2 copies of Stadium cards or supporters from your discard back into your hands. This is going to be just a form of supporter recovery. Not sure how much I like this card, to be honest, just because we already have Odor Sleuth, plus we have Puzzles of Time as well, so not sure how much I like this card in the list, but the guy got all the way to the 6th seed after day 1, so hey, had to be doing something right. Also, 1 copy of Gladion. So this is actually a card I really do like in the list. Look at your face down prize cards and put one of them into your hand, then shuffle this Gladion into your remaining prize cards and put them back face down. If you didn't play this Gladion from your hand, it does nothing. So this is good in these mill style decks where you don't really plan on taking prizes, but let's say, for example, if you prize 2 Victinis or 2 double colorless energy, or maybe just a card that's really integral to the strategy of your deck, Gladion's nice because you can fish it out of there and have access to it for the rest of the game. So definitely very, very nice in these mill style decks where you don't take any prizes. 2 copies of Acerola. So you put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it into your hand. So this is obviously just to reuse things like Raichu. Maybe if our opponent damages a Heatmor, doesn't quite knock it out, we can Acerola it up. But it's nice because potentially if our Raichus get damaged, if our opponent's playing Po-Town or something like that, or maybe like some sort of Tapu Koko or Latios and is trying to pick off our bench, we can Acerola up our damaged Raichus. We also play Rainbow Energy as well, so that will allow us another way to pick those Raichus back up into our hand. And then just 1 copy of Team Rocket's Handiwork. So you flip 2 coins, and for each heads, discard 2 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. Definitely a good card in these mill-style decks. And since we have Odor Sleuth and Puzzle of Time, we can actually just keep reusing this every turn if we choose to as well. So a lot of supporters in this deck, definitely a lot to work with. The item cards are still kind of interesting as well. I did mention we play Puzzle of Time, so we'll go over that. If you play 2 puzzles at once, you put 2 cards from your discard back into your hand, or you do have the option to play 1 and just look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put them back in any order. But the main reason we are playing this is going to be for its second effect, to get 2 cards from our discard back into our hand. So this is definitely a good card just in general, allows us to reuse resources from our discard pile, but since we're playing Heatmor, it really makes this card pretty powerful. So if we played a couple puzzles, we can use Odor Sleuth to get them back into our hand to make sure we can keep reusing different resources. And so puzzles are also kind of nice for Odor Sleuth because if you're not sure what cards you want to get back out of your discard pile, sometimes you can just grab Puzzles of Time, and then on your next turn, you can then decide what you want to use your Puzzles of Time on based on what your opponent did on their turn. So definitely a very, very good card in the list. 2 copies of Counter Catcher, so it's a new card from Crimson Invasion. You can only play this if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, which we probably will since we don't plan on taking prizes. You switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. So this deck doesn't run any copies of Guzma, so Counter Catcher is going to be our way to drag stuff into the active spot to strand them there. Also playing 4 copies of Devolution Spray. Not a card we see too often, but is definitely good with this Raichu. So you de-evolve one of your evolved Pokemon and put the highest evolution card on it back into your hand. And then that Pokemon can't evolve this turn. So this is nice because once we've evolved into Raichus, we can just de-evolve them afterwards and, evolve into a different Pikachu the next turn, or something to that effect. So this is going to be the way we are going to reuse our Raichus and help ensure that we can continually lock our opponent throughout the game. 2 copies of Nest Ball, search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench. There's definitely a lot of moving pieces in this deck. There's a lot of different things we want to get on the field, so Nest Ball is going to help ensure that we get those Pokemon in play as soon as possible. 4 copies of Field Blower might seem really odd, but we choose 2 of our opponent's tool cards in stadiums and play and discard them. This is going to be mainly to combat Garbodor. So if they shut off our abilities with that Garbotoxin ability, we are going to be in big trouble since we are very reliant on Raichu to lock our opponent. Also somewhat reliant on Fliptini to be able to make sure that we can always hit at least 1 heads on Odor Sleuth. So we are going to make sure that Garbodor is not a problem for this deck. 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher just to reuse our different Pokemon that we have, just a nice little form of recovery. 3 copies of Ultra Ball, a little less than normal, but discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand. So we have Nest Ball already, then we aren't really trying to search for Tapu Leles every turn like a lot of decks are, so it doesn't seem like we need quite as many as most decks do either. And the last item card is going to be a 1 copy of Floatstone, just to give our Pokemon free retreat. And then to round out the list, we have 4 double Colorless Energy and 2 Rainbow Energy. So of course double Colorless Energy is how we are going to use Odor Sleuth, but Rainbow Energy is still good to make use of Xurkitree and Durant attacks. Also it allows us a way to Acerola up our Raichus if we want to reuse them. So here guys, that is the list that the player played. I believe his name was Sander Wojcik. I believe it is. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But like I said, got the 6th seed going into day 2 of the tournament. Definitely pretty impressive. But let's switch over to the battle portion of the video and we'll show you how this deck looks in action. Alright, so it looks like we have ourselves a game. And do we win the coin flip? That's the big question next. Apparently our opponent's having a hard time deciding which side they want. But we do win the coin flip there luckily, so we definitely will want to go first. Try to get set up a little quicker than our opponent if possible. So okay, we have a Heatmor and a Durant, so let's start with our Heatmor. Not sure if we'll need Durant just yet or not. Okay, so this is actually kind of an ugly hand. We have the Durant. Do we want to bench it though? Because I'm kind of half tempted just to keep my bench open for more Pikachus. And this is kind of a gross Sycamore, but we gotta do it, I think. So we need some more basics. Alright, nice. We have a Pikachu and we have a Heatmor, so we're actually in decent shape. We did have kind of an ugly Sycamore there first turn, but luckily our whole deck revolves around getting cards out of the discard pile, so I'm not too worried about it. And here I decide not to place down the DCE. I don't know what type of deck we're going against, so I didn't know if our opponent runs enhanced hammers or anything like that. But here it looks to be some sort of Garbodor variant. So they have Po-Town and Espeon EX in play, so they're threatening some sort of de-evolution strategy. And I'm curious how this is going to go. And our opponent has Espeon GX. Looks like that's what they're evolving into. That could be a little troublesome because, well, Confusion is actually really bad against this deck. So definitely a strong start from our opponent. They have 2 Tapu Kokas on the bench. That's a little concerning. But here I'm going to Nest Ball. We're going to get... looks like another Pikachu. That seems good, and yeah, I think that's probably best. So let's just take a peek through the deck real quick, make sure there's nothing too crazy priced. We have our Lele in there, have Xurkitree, we have Catcher. Looks like we might have some De-Evolution Spray prized. That could be bad. I only saw 1 in the deck, and there's 1 in the discard, so that could be a little problematic. But we do have Gladiant Index, so we could potentially dig it out that way. So yeah, let's just go for the Pikachu. And ooh, we actually have 2 De-Evolution Sprays prized. That's not so good. So what we do here, we could go for a Skyla. I actually might do that because we can get another Puzzle of Time and actually get back a Raichu and a Devolution Spray, or maybe a Field Blower even. Since we are playing some sort of Garbodor variant, that could be a good card. So yeah, let's definitely get 2 cards from our discard pile. We can grab a Raichu for sure. And, Well, do we have a draw supporter for next turn? That's also a big question. If not, I might opt to go for a Sycamore here. Yeah, oh yeah, we do have Sycamore in hands, that's fine. So De-Evolution Spray, we definitely want to get that thing out just so we can, you know, abuse that since we don't have many of them left in the deck. But here, we'll just, we could get a little greedy and go for the Odor Sleuth, and I think we're gonna try for it here. Our opponent's paralyzed anyway, so even if we flip tails, I think we'll be okay, but big moment of truth, do we get it? Hey, we do. And we get 1 heads for the actual attack itself, so that's good. We're going to Sycamore next turn, so we probably should get a card that we can just play from hand. I kind of like getting Field Blower, that could be good. Because that way we can for sure get rid of Potown, and if our opponent gets their Garbotoxin Floatstone combo, we can also make quick work of that too. So I think that seems good for the moment. Here our opponent's just going to end. I'm actually fine with that too. We'll shuffle that card we got from the discard back into the deck. And okay, so opponent's going to get a DCE on Tapu Koko, so it looks like they might be going for kind of an aggressive devolution strategy here. Okay, we actually have a pretty workable hand too. We have Nest Ball and grab Fliptini. We will need that guy out here at some point. Okay, so we have some options. We could go for the Devolution Spray and immediately evolve into Pikachu, or we could risk going for an N and getting a Raichu. Or we could Devolution Spray, Raichu, go for the N and try to get Field Blower and Raichu, but I think that might be getting a little greedy. So let's just guarantee the paralysis. We have plenty of Field Blowers in deck. We have plenty of Raichus as well, so. But let's just go for the guaranteed. And, okay, so this actually is kind of workable. We do have Field Blower, we could play it, but honestly, I just really want to wait until our opponent gets out Garbotoxin. Because we can't evolve anymore this turn, like the Potown's not going to hurt us. And here we're going to go for the Odor Sleuth. What do we get? 2 Puzzle of Time. I think that's probably best. That way we don't have to commit to anything this turn. And based on what our opponent has next turn, we can kind of decide what we want to get out of the discard pile with our Puzzles of Time here. So one thing we do have to be careful about is Guzma. That could be a card that will help our opponent get out of the active spot at some point. So we have to kind of try to anticipate those whenever we can. Our opponent is going for a Garbodor. Okay, so I'm actually fine with that. We have the choice, I'm sorry, not a choice band, but the Field Blower in hand. So even if they get their Floatstone out, we can just get rid of that thing and the Potown and, you know, continue our annoying strategy. But your opponent's going to bench an Eevee, get out another Espeon GX, it looks like. Not sure if they need to or not, just because we're not going to take prizes. They're never really in any fear of their active Espeon getting knocked out. Here they're going to go for a Sycamore. I would have maybe preferred a Lele there actually for a Guzma, but hey, I will take it. Alright, so I definitely want to use Field Blower to get rid of this Potown no matter what this turn, just because if we keep evolving these Pikachus, that will set our opponent up for like a big Espeon EX play. And I might actually leave the Choice Band on the Espeon GX. The Choice Band doesn't really benefit them, so I'd prefer them to have that on it than to potentially have access to a Floatstone or something like that. Here we're going to go for the Handiwork, and ooh, we discard 2 DCEs. That's actually really, really good. So here we'll Puzzle of Time. We need to get out another Raichu or a Devolution Spray, so let's do that. Could go for a DCE. I think that's actually probably best. One thing I wouldn't mind actually is maybe another Nest Ball even. That could be good. Or to get that Field Blower back just in case our opponent does get out the Garbodor. I think that could be good. So let's do that. And, well, actually, you know what we probably should have done? Probably should have grabbed the DCE, then got Field Blower off of the Odor Sleuth, just because we can attach the DCE this turn. So maybe that's probably just a slight little misplay. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us. We're going to do Odor Sleuth. And yes, we definitely want to reflip those. And we get 1 heads, that is fine with me. So here, could actually grab a Puzzle of Time potentially. Nah. Let's, I think maybe just going for DCE is probably okay. Don't see too much harm in it, I guess. We don't have a draw supporter, but honestly, we're in kind of okay shape here. Our opponent's going to get down another Potown, and they're finally going to get their Garbiter online, and they're going to end us. Okay, so they will get that Field Blower that we got back into the deck. I'm sure they're happy about that, but we play an insane 4 copies of it, so I'd be surprised if we didn't have access to it this turn. Don't draw into it, but we do have Skylo. We could Field Blower, get that. What do we do here? That is the question. So, yeah, I think we're going to have to do that. Yeah, that seems good to me. We can Field Blower. We can also Ultra Ball away some cards to get out another Raichu to continue the lock. So let's definitely do that, I think. Yeah, I don't really know what else we would need here, so we can do that. Like I said, Field Blower away that Floatstone, that way we get our abilities back, and that Potown, that way we don't take damage whenever we evolve into our Raichus. And here we can... Yeah, let's definitely bench the 70 hit point Pikachu. It's definitely very important. Then we'll discard Bridget and the other Pikachu. Here we can grab another Raichu and continue our obnoxious lock. And so yeah, we definitely need to hit a heads on Odor Sleuth this turn no matter what. Hopefully we don't get the dreaded quad tails. We need to grab probably a Sycamore. Okay, so we do hit heads. So let's yeah, so let's probably just take a Sycamore. That's fine with me. So yeah, we're in a pretty decent spot here. Our opponent only has 18 cards left, so we're definitely doing a good job making them keep digging through their deck to take knockouts. And here, just a Floatstone and a pass. I'm actually fine with that. So did we play the Rescue Stretcher? How many? Okay, we've already used one. So yeah, I think we probably should, just in case a Pikachu or something gets knocked out. We want to be able to bench another Pikachu at some point. Don't really need the Durant at this point, but hey, we might be able to use it to mill our opponent at the end of the game. Okay, so we do have Ultra Ball, so what we can do is we can Ultra Ball, Lele, and probably Xurkitree. We want to save that Acerola. And here we can grab another Raichu to evolve and do Evo wait. Well, our opponent has Floatstone Garbiter, so yeah, that's definitely a bit of a misplay on my part there, guys. I do apologize about that. So, okay, so we basically just wasted a Raichu. Excellent. So what I can do is I can grab a Puzzle of Time, though. That way we have access to double puzzle on the next turn. That's the one good thing that happened with this turn. So our opponent has ability locked us, and they have broken the lock. So that is quite annoying. So we could be in trouble, or some trouble, if our opponent uses like a Divide GX, or looks like they might go for an Espeon play. Oh, okay, looks like they're going for the Tapu Koko spread strategy. That seems pretty good as well. They're trying to set up our board for a big Devolution spray, or Devolution play like I've been mentioning. But we have Acerola, so let's pick up that damaged Raichu. And actually we can keep using Acerola every turn at this point. And so what we could do is, what do we need this turn? That's the question. Could go for Field Blower to make sure that we don't get quad tails with our flips, but I guess that seems okay. Put 2 cards from discard into our hand. Could go for Team Rocket's Handiwork potentially for next turn, or just get the Acerola back. So I guess let's get Handiwork, I suppose. We're going to use Odor Sleuth, so we can also get some other cards back as well. So yeah, let's get the puzzle, I guess. I guess that's okay. And then we can Odor Sleuth and get back another puzzle. That seems okay to me, I suppose. And okay, so we do get 1 head, that's good. So we already have the 1 puzzle in hand. So like I said, we'll probably just want to get another one. That way next turn we can kind of have some flexibility and decide what we want to get then. So luckily I think we're in an okay spot. Our opponent's Devolution strategy, I don't think it's going to work because we can just keep reusing Acerola anytime to get close to taking a knockout here. One thing we have to be careful about is if they keep spreading, our Heatmors actually could be in danger of being knocked out. So that would not be something that's good either. So that could actually put us behind. But I don't know, our opponent has 16 cards left in deck. We have Handiwork, we have ways to reuse Handiwork and get Heatmors back. So here we're just going to see another Tapu Koko spread. And we top deck an Ace Roll. That's even better. We can use our puzzles on some better stuff. So yeah, we're definitely going to puzzle. We definitely want the Field Blower to knock off that Float Stone. And maybe just get Puzzle back? Or Devolution Spray? Ooh, I think Devolution Spray might be good. No, because we're going to Ace Roll it anyway, so it's actually fine. So we'll definitely Field Blower, getting rid of the Float Stone. We're going to leave that Choice Band like I've been saying before. That way our opponent doesn't have the option for a Float Stone. Here we're going to pick up that Raichu, bench a Pikachu. We can evolve into the Pikachu we placed down last turn, paralyzing this Tapu Koko. And after that, I mean, we could attach this DCE somewhere, but honestly, I don't think it's really necessary. Here we're just going to Odor Sleuth. Ooh, we got the double tails. We definitely want to reflip. And we got a head, so that is fine by me. So here we can just grab a puzzle. That way we can kind of keep this Puzzle of Time loop going. So what does our opponent have? You know, they haven't really played many cards the past few turns. I imagine they'll probably need a draw supporter if they want to continue getting Float Stones on their Garboater. And it looks like they're thinking they must have some sort of option. Okay, they have Guzma. Okay. And they're going to target down this Victini. Okay, that makes some sense. Victini is definitely a crucial part of the deck. But, I mean, if they don't knock it out, we always have Float Stone. Even if they do, we have Puzzles of Time. We can get it back that way as well. Here they're going to put Float Stone on Garboater, and they're going to do Flying Flip. So definitely, I mean, that's a decent little turn for our opponent. But we top deck a Field Blower too. This is pretty good for us. So we're going to get rid of that tool. We have the Float Stone in hand. We don't even have to burn the DCE to retreat. And so we can retreat into... Our Heatmors are definitely getting pretty low on HP. So I'm pretty scared of that, to be honest. Here we can double puzzle. We could get back an Acerola. That actually could be good. I don't know if we need the Field Blower right this second. Let's get back to Acerola. I definitely like that. And maybe just a puzzle. And then we can Odor Sleuth for another puzzle again. So that way we can pick up this Raichu here. And our opponent just concedes. You know, we had too much in our hand to respond to their play last turn, so I guess they just had enough. I don't blame them. The deck is certainly very, very annoying. You're just paralyzing your opponent over and over and over. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the look at this Heatmor Raichu deck. Like I mentioned earlier, definitely a deck I did not expect to make an appearance at the European International Championship. Heatmor just in general is a card, I don't know, you kind of just store in your bulk and forget about. So definitely cool to see players making use of these, you know, kind of forgotten about cards. But as usual, guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and a big shout out to all of our supporters over on patreon.com/rarecandytcg. If you guys can support us over there or pick up something from our online store at rarecandytcg.com, it would be greatly appreciated. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.